Stop glorifying Abraham Lincoln. Number 16 is remembered as his Great Emancipator, gung-ho on freeing slaves and happy to do it. But this is the watered-down, elementary school version of his actual stance. Let me be clear. Lincoln's actions against slavery were about politics and military success, not some type of ethical or moral duty. Here's the uncomfortable truth. Abraham Lincoln didn't fight slavery because he believed in equality, actually quite the opposite. He fought slavery because it helped him win the Civil War. Now before you go thinking that this is an anti-Lincoln video, look at what he said, not his biographers. In 1858, just 2 years before becoming president, Lincoln told a crowd, quote, "I am not, nor ever have been, in favor of bringing about, in any way, the social and political equality of the white and black races." A popular statement at the time met with applause and cheers. That's not something you hear next to the Lincoln Memorial or on a plaque somewhere. And here's the twist. He also claimed that black people were entitled to natural rights. It sounds contradictory, I know. But by the end of the video, it'll make sense why I call him an expert middle ground politician and not this abolition hero we've made him out to be. Growing up in Kentucky and Indiana, Lincoln observed slavery firsthand, wasn't a fan, and publicly condemned it early into his political career, though he felt government couldn't really do too much about it. By the 1850s, slavery had become the national swing issue for voters, similar to how abortion or even immigration would be for us today. The Kansas-Nebraska Act of 1854 threatened to spread it westward, and Lincoln took issue. In an 1854 speech, he said that he hated slavery, going on to say that it challenged the fundamental principles of civil liberty, since it contradicted the language of freedom and liberty that Americans even then held as a national theme. But he wasn't an abolitionist in the radical sense that we think of. Here's where it gets muddy. In his debates with Stephen Douglas in 1858, only a few years before he would take office, we learn a lot about what Abraham Lincoln actually thought on the slavery issue. He announced, quote, "There is no reason in the world why the Negro is not entitled to all the natural rights enumerated in the Declaration of Independence, the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness." Which is hard to believe because we just finished hearing about how he specifically did not want equality between whites and blacks. But this is clever. Stay with me. So Lincoln drew a careful line and danced on both sides of it. Something that feels like a simple but clever tactic that a modern politician would use. He believed that slavery violated basic human rights, but saying that he supported full civil or social equality would have been a step too far, even for the most liberal mid-19th century white audiences. It's funny how this politician language works so well, both then and now. And let's give Lincoln some credit here. This is smart. Instead of answering questions directly, which would be, polarizing and sound bad when quoted in the media, just like today, he instead answered with general, less divisive statements about his belief, more principle-style statements as opposed to policy, right? In essence, Lincoln saying that perfect equality is certainly a step too far. But shouldn't the black population at least enjoy basic, God-given natural rights like everybody else? You see how much nicer that sounds? Though he's well documented to have a funny voice and his quote personal appearance disappointed everybody, Lincoln was a charming speaker who played on this on-the-fence angle really well. And listen to this home run he delivers in the same debate against Douglas. He says, "I do not perceive that because the white man is to have the superior position, the Negro should be denied everything. I do not understand that because I do not want a Negro woman for a slave, I must necessarily want her for a wife. My understanding is that I can just let her alone." This statement was met with cheers, applause, and even laughter. Once again, middle ground language as Lincoln delivers this political debate masterclass. But if you've invested tens of thousands into slaves, this language was a step too close to radical abolition, which you'd know if you watch my "How Much Did a Slave Cost in America" video, link down below. Because of language like we just read, when Lincoln was elected in 1860, many Southerners feared the Republican would abolish slavery immediately, a big reason why 7 Southern states seceded from the Union in that same year. He tried to calm them and win their support by appearing moderate, at least vocally. In his first inaugural address in 1861, he said, "I have no purpose, directly or indirectly, to interfere with the institution of slavery in the states where it exists." At that point, his main goal wasn't abolition, it was preserving the Union before more states left the Union or fighting broke out. But then guess what? The war broke out. And once it started, it forced Lincoln's hand. Suddenly, slavery became this tool of military strength. And the Emancipation Proclamation that would come soon after wasn't some kind of ethical or religious breakthrough. It was a chess move. The victory at Antietam boosted morale and gave him the perfect timing to drop the Emancipation Proclamation. If you learned something new, drop me a comment down below and let me know what shocked you the most. And if you liked the video, like the video. Thanks as always. This glorification of Lincoln seems incredibly overblown once you take the Emancipation Proclamation out of the context of anti-slavery and moral duty and consider the military necessity at play here. Let me explain. Just like now, what politicians say out loud is often different than what they say or think privately. Abe Lincoln wrote in an 1862 letter, quote, "If I could save the Union without freeing any slave, I would do it. And if I could save it by freeing all the slaves, I would do it." His paramount object was saving the Union. The abolition, or at least crippling, of slavery was a military tactic at most, and a byproduct of saving the Union at least. Knowing all this, it's harder to label him an abolition hero, because he was really something closer to a tactical leader, seeking national preservation and military victory rather than the morally upstanding anti-slavery figure we often envision. And this isn't up for debate either. In September of 1862, when he actually issued the Emancipation Proclamation, literally the freedom announcement, he wasn't trying to grant the enslaved freedom. He was simply trying to win the war and keep the United States whole. The Emancipation Proclamation was an executive order that did a few crucial things, none of which can be said to have been done with the bleeding heart of moral righteousness. Primarily, it declared all slaves in the Confederate States free, but had the secondary effects of crippling the Confederate war effort in terms of resources. It kept European powers like Britain and France from recognizing the Confederacy as legitimate, and it authorized black men to join the Union Army. Lincoln called it an act of, quote, justice, warranted by the Constitution upon not moral, but military necessity. I know what you're thinking. Hey man, leave my boy alone. Surely he freed the slaves in those border states, right? No. Surely he freed those slaves in the North under Union control though, right? Also no. If you're picturing Lincoln like marching down to New Orleans and Montgomery and Richmond and saying, hey man, cut it out. Not because of politics or war or nothing, but because this is just morally wrong, man. Well, you're wrong. After what's still the bloodiest conflict in American history, America needed some heroes to make the story straight. Lincoln got promoted from strategist looking to save his country to this moral icon, this let my people go type of figure, the Great Emancipator. This wasn't accidental, it's, dare I say, propaganda. We made him a moral hero so we could feel good about a brutal war and systemic injustice. Today, the myth lives on. We tell our school children a sanitized story, leaving out the very key nuanced details of what actually took place. Smart if you want to influence public opinion, but not necessarily the truth. So what did Abraham Lincoln really think about slavery? Well, he understood it to be a moral wrongdoing from a young age. He denied full equality, but advocated for natural rights at least. And he felt that emancipation was a good idea only after hundreds of thousands of Americans had already died in the war. To him, that was a tactical necessity, not some type of moral weight he had to lift off of his chest. This isn't to say that Lincoln just deserves no credit or praise at all though. As president, he took major steps in striking down the cruel institution of chattel slavery, even if ethics weren't a major factor in his decision-making, and his administration kept the United States intact amid, even today, the most bloody conflict in American history. He's definitely praiseworthy, but not the figure you and me were sold at a young age. If you're a history nerd, you probably know that the slavery issue remained long after Lincoln. I mean, just look at this. Thank you for watching until the end of the video. That helps me more than you'll ever know. If you got some value out of watching, the biggest sign of gratitude is a like or an algorithmic comment. There should be 1 or 2 videos on your screen by now. If you like this, then you'll probably like those. I always feel so corny at the end of the video, like advertising myself, but you know, that's how it goes. It's really exciting to see you all commenting and interacting. That makes my day. Well, that's all I got. Thanks for watching as always.